support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Joining us right now is California Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Congresswoman Waters, what I just read from Congressman Jim Clyburn, he is clearly implying this was an inside job. We have seen numerous videos, Congresswoman, of Capitol Hill police officers waving people in. This video right here of 4 cops just standing there and just letting folks just trace on through the U.S. Capitol. There are some people who are calling for the Capitol Police to be dissolved and for the Secret Service to take over this police force, a police force numbering more than 1,700 with a budget that exceeds $500 million. Your thoughts?
Well, let me just say it is obvious that we've got to have a deep investigation, and we've got to really find out what was happening with the Capitol Police force. We've got to understand why they would stand, as you just showed in that video, and allow people to just pass through. We've got to understand why they were not equipped with, helmets in some instances, and the kind of protection to be able to deal with this kind of invasion. We've got to understand why the police chief assured us that he had everything under control. And I want to just unveil this for you. I spoke about the need to be sure that we were going to have security because of whom I thought was coming. And we already knew the Proud Boys were in town. And I was expecting that the Oath Keepers, the KKK, the QAnon, all of them were going to be here. And so I opened up that discussion in our caucus. I was told that they would have the Capitol Police call me, and he did. That is the chief of police of the Capitol Police. And so he did call me, and I spent 1 hour with him. And I asked him every question about security that I could possibly ask. The first thing I said to them is, don't allow those protesters, those mobsters to come onto the plaza. Don't allow them to occupy the plaza. That's very important. He said, don't worry, it will be barricaded. They will not be able to get onto the plaza. The second thing I asked him about was, would they allow them on the grassy area right adjacent to the plaza? He said, yes, that is considered a place where so-called protesters can request to be, and it is a place that we will allow them to protest. I said, well, what if there's an opposing group and they have a confrontation there? He said, well, we're going to have police stationed there, and they will intervene. They will not allow anything to happen, a confrontation to take place. I asked him if they would basically create safety at the intersection, right at the top of, the Capitol area there, the street that's right in front of the Longworth building, and the Cannon building and the Rayburn House office building. He said, no, they could not block that off, that had to be open for traffic, and that they, would have a right to be there, recognizing their First Amendment rights. I asked him, what about guns? I said, you're going to have a lot of these people coming from gun carry states, and they're going to bring those guns with them. What are you going to do about that? He said, well, if a gun is displayed, we will arrest. I was thinking to myself, if it's displayed, is they're ready to do something with it? Otherwise, it's going to be concealed. I wasn't really comfortable with that, but that was his response. I also asked him, were they going to put officers on top of the buildings? And to tell you the truth, Roland, I was thinking about the assassination of both John Kennedy and Martin Luther King, how they were assassinated from buildings, confronting not only the parade where John Kennedy was, but the motel where Martin Luther King was, and that those buildings were high up, and that, we know that people who are involved in this kind of criminal activity might do sniping from, the windows or the roofs, etc. He said, don't worry about that. They cannot get on top of the building. In the first place, they'd have to go through the Capitol in order to find their way up to the top of the building. And they can't get into the Capitol. That won't happen. I asked him if he knew the names of the groups that were coming. I asked him about the KKK. I asked him about QAnon. I asked them about the KKK and also the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, who I reminded him that the Proud Boys were in town already and had been here for a number of days. He said that they have a system by which people have to request to protest and be in certain areas, and they had to sign up. But individuals could sign up, and they wouldn't necessarily have to identify that they were with a group. And I thought that sounded strange to me, but seemed to me that they would want to know that we have groups who are basically domestic terrorists and that they should be contained. They should not be allowed to be in what you consider the allowable protest areas, etc. But he assured me that they have people who have to register. He talked to me about the forms, where they could come and being on the internet to register, all of that. But the bottom line was he made sure that he gave me the kind of answers that would comfort me and others who maybe I would be talking to, that he had it under control, that he was competent, that he could take care of it. And so I left there, feeling, well, he's the police chief. He must know something. And so I was shocked, as everybody else was, to experience the invasion of these domestic terrorists in the way that I did and others did. And I called the police chief while it was going on, and I told him I was extremely upset. I was so very concerned that the conversation that we had, he assured me that, in fact, he was in charge and he had it under control. In fact, he was not. And so here we are with what has happened, with them breaking the windows, with them scaling the walls, with them charging past our officers, doing hand-to-hand combat with some of the officers, chasing an officer up the stairs who was running from them, and going on the House floor and the Senate chambers also, going into Nancy Pelosi's office, and as Jim Clyburn has described, trying to get in his door. And this is not only a stain on our democracy, as we are being watched, as we were watched from around the world, we no longer hold the preeminent place of being able to have a democracy that really works, that we have buildings that are very secure, and that we can certainly talk to others about what they need to do to have democracies that work and how they need to have the kind of security in the event that they have this kind of outrageous invasion of their most sacred building in all of government. And so that's what it's all about, Roland. I know that you've been, talking with people. You understand. You watched what was going on. And here we are now. We're talking about what we can do to make the president accountable. We're talking about impeachment and waiving all the rules so that we can get the resolution up on the floor. We're talking about the 25th Amendment and what we can do to get with Pence, who has to be in charge of that, to organize the cabinet people in order to consider this. We're talking about what we can do to try and force him to resign. We don't know what's going to happen at this point, but we're all convinced that we cannot walk away without making every effort possible to get him out of office, even though it's only a few days left for him to serve.
Here's an article from Associated Press that I find to be shocking and stunning. The National Guard. The Pentagon asked the U.S. Capitol Police 3 days before if they needed National Guard manpower. They said no. But this is the one that I don't understand. As the mob descended on the building Wednesday, Justice Department leaders reached out to offer up FBI agents. The police turned them down both times.
Yes, and I was shocked by that also. And when we do our investigation and the reorganization of security, all of that's got to be taken into consideration, and those questions have got to be answered. Why was it turned down? And what is it in reorganization of our security should happen, and who should be communicating with whom? And I also ask our Capitol Police, the Chief of Police, whether or not he had the cooperation of and was working with the Metropolitan Police. He said, absolutely, that was not a problem. I did not ask him about the FBI, and I did not ask him about other possibilities to assist with security, and he did not offer it. And when I talked to him on the day that it was taking place in real time, when they were, crashing in to the Capitol, he simply said, "We're doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can," and that was only his only answer he gave me.
The reason I'm staying on the Capitol Police is because I am greatly disturbed, Congresswoman, for your safety and that of others. Y'all have to trust the Capitol Police are going to protect you. And there was a Capitol Police officer who was anonymous, who gave an interview, who said that there were cops and members of the military who were in this crowd of terrorists, flashing their IDs going by them. Then when you see these comments and you see these actions of these cops, I'm scared for you that you may have some folks who are going to allow someone to come in. There was a video we had earlier of in Oregon, an Oregon state representative who opened the door for these right-wing extremists to come into the place. The problem is the evil folks who you're trying to fight, they may be right sitting next to you in Congress. I mean, I don't think people really understand what Wednesday was about and how serious this is for the future of the country, the safety of folks like you, as well as when it comes to the democracy of our society.
Well, Roland, I have to tell you, I was so pleased that I left the gallery early after the two houses separated and went into a debate about the objections that had been made on, I believe it was Arizona, the first state that was taken up. And I decided not to stay there and listen to the debate because I knew our members who had been identified from one of our committees to be able, who were going to speak. I also knew about what they were going to say. So I got up and I left and I walked back to my office. And from the time I walked from the gallery to my office, I didn't see one Capitol Police, nobody, until I got to the end of where the tram is, where the underground transportation is. And so I came into my office and we saw what was going on television. We locked our doors and we did not move. We did not go out. And at one point, I was advised that the Capitol Police wanted us to leave and I think either be escorted to or come to another one of the office buildings. I think it was the Cannon building I told them I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't trust the Capitol Police to tell me where to go or to even guide me any place, and I would not go. I stayed here and we stayed locked in. And so, yes, I know and I truly believe that if I had encountered those insurrectionists, those mobsters, that I would have been killed. I am a targeted person, and to tell you, even with the woman who was killed, her name is Ashley Babbitt. They found information in her automobile that shows that she said she had made other very, very disparaging comments about us. I am sure that I would have been killed. And so, yes, it was serious. I think that the fact that we ended up with no security and that, the Capitol and security was all breached. That we're lucky that not more people lost their lives at this point. And I'm told that they had other kinds of weapons, and they had some, what do you call those bombs? Molotov cocktails.
They had Molotov cocktails. That one guy was arrested with 11 Molotov cocktails.
Well, that's what we understand. That's what we understand. And so
last question for you, Last question for you. There are some people are saying Article 25, that's going to Amendment 25, but it's idea of impeachment. The reason I need people to understand why this is important, because all it takes is 3 or 4 Republicans to flip. Folks are that upset. If Donald Trump is impeached and convicted, he can't run for president again.
That's true. He cannot run for president if he is impeached. That is true.
Well, that's why I think people need to understand that even though it's 13 days, it should happen. I really hope the House moves forward, because I believe that every Republican Congresswoman needs to be put on notice. These Republicans have to make a decision. Are you going to stand with America and democracy, or you are going to stand with an insurrectionist and somebody who led a coup d'etat? That, to me, is the only choice here. Clearly, Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and Kennedy and the 5 others, Marsha Blackburn, the others, they made their decision. But every Republican, and I said every 70-part member of the 74 million who voted for Donald Trump, has to be put on notice. That's why all these people who stormed the Capitol, some of them are getting fired. I hope they all lose their jobs. I hope they all get arrested. They get long jail terms, because these people want to overthrow this country. And Congresswoman, they're pissed off because black people voted. Because black people in Atlanta, in Detroit, and Milwaukee, and Philadelphia voted. And that's really who they're mad with. They're pissed that black people had the audacity to decide this election.
Absolutely. I think well said. And don't forget, they put up a structure with a noose hanging from it. And that is the symbol of what the lynching of black people is all about. And that's what I consider was a message to black people on the Capitol's plaza, that I think it was on the plaza, that we could be hanged by them.
Just some breaking news here. Twitter has permanently banned Donald Trump.
Again? Permanently?
No, he is permanently banned. Donald Trump will not be able to have a Twitter account again.
Wow, now I'm talking about. And that's what I meant when I said to somebody who keeps talking to me about how we're going to come together, how is Biden going to put us together, and how we're going to make this thing right, and I told him, look, here's what I understand. I understand what racism is all about. And I understand what systemic racism is and why at every juncture we are at a disadvantage. I understand that thoroughly. And I also said to them, it is really up to white people to determine whether or not they are going to change their ways, whether or not they're going to use their power and influence to change things. White people sitting in important positions, in important institutions. It is up to white people to determine whether or not they are ready and they're willing, and that they have the responsibility to help change what is going on in America. The responsibility lies with them. We fight, we struggle, we sacrifice, and we die, fighting for justice, freedom, and equality. Our ancestors have done it. It's going all the way up through today, where we have young people who are dying at the hands of police, who target young black men in particular, who are unarmed and shoot, people lying in their beds like they did Miss Taylor. And so it's up to white people to get started. We're trying to change America.
I agree. Congresswoman Maxine Waters, it's always great to have you on the show. Keep leading, and we're going to keep following.
Thank you very much.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.